Okay, it looks like we're ready to go. I'll call this meeting to order. This is Alpine Town Council public hearing on November 19th. I guess we'll go right into roll call. Madam Clerk.
Councilman Larson.
Here.
Councilman Dickerson.
Here.
Mayor Green.
Here.
Councilman Castillo.
Here.
And Councilman Berger.
Here.
Mayor Green, you have a quorum of the council for your work session.
All right, great, thank you. So tonight we're going to be listening to two presentations from the two consultants that we have looking at the impact and capacity fee study. We'll start with Sunrise, and we're going to give each about 30 minutes, but that also includes questions from us. So if you could keep your presentation to about 15, 20 minutes, somewhere in that range, and leave enough time for us to ask you questions. Maybe it's 10 to 15 minutes, somewhere in that range. And then it sounds like Reftalis is going to be on a Zoom call, hopefully sometime around 6:30. Is that what you guys have set up? Okay. So I'm sure they could probably be watching on the up here, but I guess what I would prefer is after you're done presenting, we could either put you in another office, or you could just go and then come back later if you wanted. If I give you that option, does that sound all right?
Yeah, no, that's fine. That sounds good.
Okay, perfect. With that being said, I'll give you the floor if you don't mind turning on that microphone.
Okay, I'm going to try to go to presentation mode, and hopefully this... Okay, perfect. Thank you so much for having us. We're excited to be here in Alpine.
Tell us your name.
Yeah, I will. Robert Hood, Sunrise Engineering. And so I'm the service center manager at our Afton office, which we call our Star Valley office. And I have two of my colleagues here today. Kevin Martin is one of our top professional engineers in our office, and Heidi Erickson is in our office as well. So we're here representing Sunrise. That's our project team. I need to excuse Ryan. Mayor knows this, but he's in Cancun, and apparently that was scheduled, and so we gave him a sunshine and some sunglasses. That was scheduled prior to this meeting, and so he was not going to be here. Otherwise, it would be him instead of me. I'll be a point of contact on this project, and so we like to always have at least two people that you can call that will know what's going on with your project, and so I would be another person that will be in the loop. Heidi is project coordinator on this, and we'll just make sure that everything runs smoothly as we do this project. A little bit about Sunrise Engineering. You guys are familiar with us. Our Star Valley office started in 1990. It was probably our third Sunrise Engineering office, and so we've been here a long time serving the Star Valley communities. As our Star Valley office has grown, the company has grown, and we're now over 500 employees. We have 12 full-time staff up there in Afton, and 17 if you count our part-time folks. We pride ourselves in being part of the community. We live here, we work here, we have the same challenges that you guys have, and same concerns for our valley as we grow and change and as things happen. The projects that we work on, we feel invested in, especially those that are right here where we live and work. And we feel like those are important, and we want to make sure that those are done right, and that because we understand the impact that these kind of projects have on our community. As we move into this project, did Heidi hand out notes? Oh,
I'm holding on to
we brought you notes, so you can thumb through those and make any notes you want as you go.
Thank you.
Of our slides tonight.
Thank you.
So as we talk about an impact fee study, we feel like this is kind of the formula for success for an impact fee study. Those first three icons kind of represent the three building blocks of an impact fee study. And the first one is an accurate calculation of your system capacity. And without knowing the capacities of your existing system on the water and the wastewater side and each of the major components, if that first piece isn't correct, then everything that builds on that is also not going to be correct. Second one is an accurate assessment of your system value. Both your wastewater and your water systems and each component, they're worth millions of dollars. And the price and the value of that is going up every day as costs are inflating. And so an understanding of what those are worth in 2024 dollars is really important. And then the demands on those systems. What is the user demands on a per equivalent residential unit basis? And I know you guys use ERUs in your billing, but what's the demand on those systems per user? And with those three building blocks, we can then calculate the calculation of the impact fee after we have those three things is actually pretty simple. And so my fourth thing under that formula of success then is just local knowledge and experience, because the capacity of your systems and the value of your systems really does take a local understanding. And so Sunrise Engineering, our bread and butter is water and wastewater engineering. And as I mentioned in the proposal, this really is an engineering exercise. We've been working in Alpine for probably about 30 years. We're involved in your wells and your tank that sit south of us here. We've been involved in projects also to the north. And we understand water and wastewater engineering from the planning side, from the funding side. We're very connected with the state funding agencies and also federal funding sources for actually implementing projects. And most importantly, we understand water and wastewater engineering from the cost side. What do these systems cost and what are they worth? And so we've worked in Star Valley a lot, we've worked in Alpine a lot, but we're also sensitive to the fact that Alpine is not Afton and Alpine is not Thane. In fact, I would say that your closest cousins might be like Victor. And we've worked extensively in Victor also. We're the city engineers in Victor. We worked with them for 20 years. Up to a year and a half ago, I was their city engineer working for Sunrise and attended their staff meetings and understand the growth that they're experiencing and some of the same issues that you guys are seeing, we've seen up there also. And we've been involved in their calculation of water and wastewater rates and a little bit on the planning side and certainly everything on their engineering side. So I don't want you to see us as Afton engineers. You know, we understand that Alpine's unique and you have your unique challenges and your unique opportunities. So digging back into this, I mentioned system value, and the strength that we can bring to this project is really an understanding of what your systems are worth. And these are just a couple of screenshots of very recent bids. In the last 2 years, we've bid probably 20 water or wastewater projects out of our Afton office, and that gives us a big pile of data that we can use to calculate the value of your system. So these are bid tabulations. The one is from the Osmond project that we bid maybe a month and a half ago, which is a $4+ million water transmission project. The second phase of that, which is bidding early in 25, is going to have a concrete water tank and a well. And the other kind of thing up in the corner is the bid tabulation from the Broken Wheel Ranch well that just got constructed this summer. Kevin's the project manager on that. So we know the cost of, what was this, 550 feet?
610.
610. So we know the current cost of a 610-foot municipal well within whatever that is, 4 miles of Alpine, right? So we have that data, and that's valuable because we use that to understand what your system's worth. So once knowing that, the first thing we'll do, and this is a snapshot from Thane's impact fee study, but we'll look at the three major components of your water system, and it's similar for your sewer side, but water systems have sources, they have storage, and they have transmission. And we will look at each of those main components. We'll come up what the dollar value of those are in 2024, 2025 costs, and we'll look at the estimated service life of it and how much life does it have left and what's its depreciated value. That's the first step. The second thing is we'll look at your system capacities. All those same components have a capacity. They're all worth a certain number of users that they can handle. Okay, so that's the second step, is to come up with what each of your sources, storage and transmission, and your wastewater treatment plant and your and your wastewater trunk lines, what is their capacity on a per ERU basis? And once we know those two things, then we put them together and we use the two methods that we talked about in the proposal, either the equity buy-in method for components that have capacity now, like potentially the mega well has excess capacity that users, we can determine what the value to buy into that is, or the incremental cost method, which is to what are the costs to improve your system to accommodate new growth on a per ERU basis. And once we know that, we can put it all together, and this is just the summary table. Like I said, this one's from Thane. The bottom line was $6,700 was our recommended impact fee for Thane. And they're a more simple system. You will have more lines in this because you have more components in your system. So that's just walking through the process. We'll also include in our study a fee comparison. We keep this up to date. I know you can't read it super good, but for example, right now Aetna is charging $8,700 for a connection fee, which is basically an impact fee. Star Valley Ranch is $7,500. Thane is $68. Afton's $55. And so we'll include those comparisons so you can see how you compare to the surrounding communities, and we can include others if you would like us to. As I finish up here, the last thing I wanted to point out to you is that we are also doing the water master plan, the level 1 water master plan for the town right now. And the mayor and I were in a meeting on Monday where this was discussed, so I went back and looked. Under our contract for that, we are required to prepare what's called the capacity development worksheets. And there's one of those is a financial spreadsheet that has 11 tabs. And if you apply for any state funding, this is required to have done. So Water Development says, well, while you're doing the master plan, let's just get it done in there so they can apply for state funding. It'll be a really nice snapshot of all of the finances of your systems. And that's being done under the other project. But what it does give you, and the reason I'm bringing this up, is it gives you a 30-year projection of your revenues, your expenses, your debt service, all that stuff is included in these spreadsheets, at least on the water side that we're doing under the other project. And so we could talk about what that would look like to do the same thing on the sewer side. I know you want time for questions, and it looks like I'm doing pretty well, but I just wanted to come back and touch on these things. Like those first 3 items are the main building blocks. An accurate calculation of the system capacity, that's really an engineering exercise. An understanding of the value of your system, same thing. I feel like we bring a lot to the table because we understand the value of what your system's worth, and then the demands. And once we have those 3, we can put it together and have a viable impact fee study for you guys. So with that, I'm going to open it up to any questions that you guys might have.
Thanks, Robert. So it's my understanding that certain towns in the area aren't using impact fees properly. And it's been suggested to us that impact fees need to be charged for a specific project.
Okay.
Do you agree with that?
I don't.
Okay.
I think that impact fees, I think it needs to be a little bit more broad than that. It needs to be based on a capital improvement plan. You know, you have plans that you will need to increase your source, you'll need to increase your storage, and because of that, you can calculate what those incremental improvements are going to cost, and you can apply those to users. I don't think that it needs to be based on specific projects. Now, Wyoming doesn't have any state statutes that govern impact fees, so I think that's open to interpretation. Maybe would be happy to do it however you want, but
yeah. One of the fears I have is that we do it wrong and then we mess it all up.
yeah,
And I only want to do it once and do it right.
yeah,
And then adjust the impact fees over time.
mhm,
But what we've been kind of counseled
mhm,
is that we take in X amount of impact fees over a certain amount of time, and they go for example, tying in the mega well. We know it's going to cost $1 million, for example,
mhm,
and I think it's like half the money or whatever that's brought in, you put towards that, and then when that is filled up, that bucket's filled up, and we've already paid for that, then we move it on to something else. So we just want to make sure we do it right. And I think that's something, if you're flexible.
We're flexible, yeah.
In your analysis and everything. But I think another big part of this is figuring out the projects that we want to put the money towards and how much they're going to cost. And I'm not saying you have to develop that, but work with our town engineer to make sure, we're setting the proper amount of money aside for those projects.
Now, on the water side, the water master plan is going to be doing that. It's going to be
Yep.
identifying needed projects. It'll be, and one thing that's not an impact fee study is growth. Like, what's your projected growth, and what do you need to do to accommodate that growth in new projects? That's really not in the impact fee study, but it is in the water master plan. So I think it'll dovetail really well together and work with Craig and everybody, and we can
Right.
get that stuff done. The wastewater side is honestly a little more simple. It's not, you guys, you know what your capacity for wastewater plant is.
Yep.
And yeah, we're willing to work with whatever,
Okay.
do whatever.
Sounds good. Any other questions for Robert?
I have a few questions.
Okay.
I know that we're focusing on water and wastewater, but with your other towns that you've worked with, have you pivoted to any other services as far as, I'll just give some examples, a street tax or a light tax, or have you found that there's been a need or an interest from surrounding townships for?
So Victor did that.
Right,
No, we didn't do the study for them. So they separated theirs. They did their water, wastewater separate, and then they did a parks impact fee study
Right.
and a transportation impact fee study. I'm trying to think if anything else was included. I think it was just maybe those two things. And Tischler Bice did it.
okay,
So, but, no, I think it's the same process, and it's a doable thing.
right.
So, yeah.
And then as far as the legal side, what does that look like for your consultants, for your team? Have you ever been called up to defend a certain decision? Do you have a legal team that can kind of guide? I know that there is very little Wyoming case law, but I'd rather follow states that have high regulation and have really stringent control with
Yeah.
that, just so we make sure we're following correct process. What does that look like for Sunrise?
Okay, so I don't know if I can answer all your question. So Sunrise as a whole, we've done a lot of impact fee studies.
Right,
And so I can't really answer for the ones that were done outside of our Star Valley office about if any of them have
Oh,
been
okay.
legally challenged.
okay,
I know the ones that we've done inside our Star Valley office, we have not been legally challenged on any of our impact fees here. On the legal side, that's a good question. We obviously have an attorney
right,
that protects us and works for us when we need them to. But we don't have like a legal member of our team that's under, to jump in and help the city of Alpine. So if it got legal, you guys would be relying on your legal folks, would be relying on our legal folks, and yeah, I
Okay.
don't know. I hope it doesn't get there,
right, so do we.
right?
And as far as additional accreditations or registrations, do you have any additions that weren't included? For example, I know that Raftalis is SEC registered, they went through a separate accreditation process. Is there anything that Sunrise has done to
In our
help
Star
that
Valley
in?
office, we don't have any separate accreditations
Okay.
other than our professional engineering licenses
Right,
and the requirements that those have.
and then as far as utility communication, is there any type of group that you have? Do you have a lot of requests for reaching out on behalf of the town? Just to kind of create a liaison, open communication as you change rates, as we look at impact fees?
Okay, so let me.
I didn't see that in your process,
So
and I
to
apologize if that
understand
was
the,
listed.
so do we have someone that,
Kind of can help with communication between the town and residents.
it would be us, like it's
Okay.
just us, and that's one of the things that we think we offer is good communication, responsiveness, somebody to call, someone to help, and we're open, if you want to send people our way, we're open to talking to people, taking calls and visiting with people.
Okay.
Any other questions for Robert or the team?
Just going where you've done Afton and Thane, any learning curve coming now to Alpine where we're not the first?
So Yeah, every time we do, and one we're working on right now is Bedford Water and Sewer District, that's in process. And so when you say learning curve, like, is there anything, anything that has happened that has really said, oh, we're not gonna do that again, or is that what you mean?
Well, not only that, just anything that, process improvements, anything coming down as, as you put one project behind you and go forward, another project behind you. And
Definitely, like yeah, for sure, there's some efficiency, there's definitely some efficiency on our end as we go through it. I mean, I just walked you through the spreadsheets for Thane. Those, we have, we'll just reuse those with your information, obviously. But you're a little more complicated, honestly.
Yeah.
You guys are the only one that operate a full-scale mechanical wastewater treatment plant in Star Valley, for one.
Right.
And then you have more water sources with your wells over here and the mega well that's not tied in,
Right.
and tanks. You have more than anybody else has got in the valley, actually.
Storage
So,
tanks wise. Okay.
storage tanks
Basically everything,
and
the whole
wells
system.
Okay.
Yep.
and everything. Yeah, you don't have. I don't know off the top of my head the number of users, but you're not the biggest. But you have definitely the most parts and the most major components. So it'll be a bigger effort that way. But all the building blocks and the other studies, we have everything we need to do it.
So, can you speak to the terminology for me? We're calling this, based on information we've gathered from elsewhere, a capacity and impact fee study. I was in the wastewater and water business in Pennsylvania, and our rate structures were very different. We had connection fees, which covered the actual cost to connect from main to curb, and very stringent rules and requirements around those. We also had what we called tapping fees, and tapping fees were capacity fees. We do not have that in the town of Alpine, so the capacity portion of our fees were your ability to get your wastewater from your house to the plant and utilize a plant, the building of that system. And for water, it was the building of the water treatment facility and all the pipes to distribute the water to your home. And so there was a portion of that, when they connected, that those two fees together, one was appropriated to, the actual infrastructure, and one's appropriated to the actual cost of connection. And so that's always been a question of mine. So when we say, and when you say capacity and impact, I think in my mind, capacity is about the system that we have now. That impact is more about development. That's the way I interpret it. And so as we grow this system, it's going to require very specific projects to grow it. And so we're going to need a commitment from developers as they develop those and as they, come onto our system to cover the impact of that growth. So I think, is all this included in this? Just
Yeah. So.
my edification.
Okay, you're right, like, the connection fee should be the cost to connect. The physical cost of connecting, plus like some the administrative fees to set up an account and do what you guys do in the office, and then the construction work, that's the connection fee, that's separate. The impact fee in the way we've treated it is a combination of the two things that you just said, the capacity and the impact.
Okay.
If you have, the impact fee will be a combination of those two things for us. It will be the cost, if you have excess capacity, such as your wastewater plant, the cost to buy into that excess capacity. And then for components that you don't have capacity in, it's the cost to make the incremental improvements needed to accommodate that new growth. And then it ends up in one fee, so that whether it's an individual house or it's a developer that's connecting to your system, the cost for them to buy into what you already have and fund the improvements that are needed because they're connecting is all rolled into the fee. It makes, and it's all done, that's why it's all done on a per ERU or equivalent residential unit basis. Okay? And, okay,
So whether it's a home, just an R1 residential, or a large-scale developer, you quantify them the same, using the same formula.
so that's what we've done in the past, and we can talk through these things with
Right.
you. So if it's 50 lots, where it gets tricky is at what point do you charge it? Right? Does the developer come in at preliminary plat and pay that 50 lots, 50 times whatever it is, $10,000 to you right then? Or do you charge a portion of it, and then at building permit, then you charge the rest? Or do you charge it all at building permit? So those things will have to be figured out. But yeah, a home connecting, and we can talk about that if you feel like some of these existing lots are grandfathered in. But typically, a home is gonna have an impact on your system, and they would pay that fee. A building.
Any other questions?
But they're, just to be clear, they're calculated by ERUs, or as we call them, EDUs. And so a single-family home is one ERU. If you build a grocery store, it's going to be many multiples of ERUs. And so their fees, by just way of what they've built, is going to be much higher.
Right.
That's just to be clear. I don't want anybody at home to think that we're treating them similarly. The fee will be different because it'll be multiplied by ERUs.
That's right.
Okay.
Any other questions for Robert? For the rest of the team? Anyone? All good? Well, thank you so much for coming in, and I'll leave it up to you guys if you want to just go away, or we can set you up in the office here, or what's...
Is your plan to then, after their presentation, to discuss and make a decision tonight?
So we have, during our actual town council meeting, that's an agenda item to make the decision tonight. So I would recommend you come back
Okay, we're gonna go sit in the front office, and then if we decide to head out, we can just go out that door.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yep,
Cool.
that'd be great.
All right, we'll get out of here.
Okay.
Thank you, Robert.
Appreciate you coming.
Yeah, thank you for coming.
Hi, Jim.
No, that's okay. It's that time of year. I know.
Takes longer to get everywhere.
Just because, exactly. Technology, am I right? We've got two people, we just lost a person watching at home too.
Is it the far left number? Right?
Yeah,
Or is it?
it's for PCs, it's the far left number.
Okay.
6-0.
Have you connected this thing? Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I should bookmark that IP address on
Yeah.
your computers, then you can just go to it.
Okay, do we have a representative from Reftalis online?
Yes, you do. Good evening, I guess. This is Todd Cristiano.
Hey, Todd, how are you?
I'm doing well. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah,
Can you
so,
turn it up a little?
yeah, hold on a second. Can we get, we're gonna try to work through all the technical difficulties, but you can actually change the audio so it goes to the TV.
Is the volume turned up on the TV?
Oh, it's coming out of here.
It's coming.
So it's not giving us an option to use the TV, or the TV as the audio.
Leave computer on
And it said audio settings was an option there at the bottom. Yeah, hit that. Okay, let's just leave it like that for a minute. All right. Todd, can you hear me okay?
now. Uh-oh. Join the computer. How about now?
Todd, can you hear me okay?
Uh-oh.
Oh,
Oh,
I
okay,
can't.
good.
Okay,
cool.
good. Okay. So we're dealing with a little bit of a speaker issue here, but we're just going to plow forward. So we gave Sunrise 30 minutes, and we'll do the same for you. I would suggest maybe 15 minutes for your presentation or less or whatever, and then leave time for questions at the end if you don't mind.
Fantastic, that sounds great. I can jump right in if you're ready.
We're ready. Go for it.
Excellent. Well, good evening, Mayor and members of council and his staff. Pleasure to be here. My name is Todd Cristiano, obviously, and I've got a presentation here just to walk through who Raftellus is and talk about the study. And let's see here, share. I think I got it right on the first try. That's good.
Yeah, we can see that.
There we go. Switch. It always makes you switch display. Good evening. So my presentation tonight, walk through, who is Raftellus, where is this company located and whatnot, our approach, but also talk a little bit about how we view impact fees, how we calculate them at a very, very high level. And then obviously leave open, like you said, 15 minutes or so for questions and discussion. Raftellus, we're a nationwide firm. We have about 180 employees. We work across the United States. You can see by that graph there. Our focus is utility financial consulting. That's our bread and butter. We also have other services as well. We do strategic planning for both utility and governmental side of things. We have executive search services. We do organizational efficiency type work, and we have data services for technology, for billing systems, and that sort of thing. But our core bread and butter, where we started back in 1993, was utility financial planning, rates, fees, wastewater rates and fees, and stormwater and electric. And so that's really been our core business since 1993. And, because we're a nationwide firm, there's often a misconception that we only work with large utilities like Salt Lake City or San Diego, but that couldn't be further from the truth. We work with communities anywhere from 300 accounts to 300,000. So it runs the gamut, and we enjoy working with all sorts of utilities, regardless of the size. And we pride ourselves in giving everybody, equal attention and the expert advice that they're requiring. What sets us apart from other businesses and competitors is that our depth of knowledge in this industry. With over 160 and 180 consultants, we've worked with a number of utilities, and we've seen it all. So in this study, if there's something that comes up that my team or I can't answer, I can guarantee you we can find an answer for it, or we can find a way to work through any sort of challenge the town may have. We have Wyoming experience. I've recently got done with a project in Casper. I worked in Cheyenne. Andrew Ream is on the project team, has worked in Jackson. Currently working in Laramie. I've worked there for a number of years now. Just finished a project in Pinedale, and finished a project up in 2019 with the city of Sheridan. Finally, one of the key things here, as a utility financial consulting group, we are registered with the MSRB as a municipal advisor. And what's important about that is that we have a fiduciary duty to provide expert advice and act in our client's best interest when it comes to issuing debt or providing financial planning advice. There's not a lot of other entities out there that can say that, but we pride ourselves on that we are registered with the MSRB. The MSRB is the Municipal Securities Rulemaking Board. They work with the SEC in developing rules and guidelines for the best practices for municipal advisors. Our project team, obviously, I'll be the project manager on this engagement. I have 25 years of experience in setting utility rates and fees and impact fees. I've sat on your side of the table there. I was the rates manager at Denver Water for 6 years, so I know how things work when you hire a consultant, what goes on in the back office there to make these projects be successful. I'm also the instructor of the American Waterworks Association twice a year rate setting seminar. I'm actually here tonight in Chicago finishing up our class tomorrow. And I was the lead update. I was the lead for the update on the M1 manual, which again is the kind of the Bible of the rates and charges for rate setting, produced by the American Waterworks Association, and we'll be publishing that here in the next year or so. Andrew Ream, I've worked with Andrew Ream since 2005, and he again has about 20 years of experience doing very similar work. He was actually fairly impact fee focused for the past couple of years. He's involved with a number of organizations, and he'll be the technical advisor on this engagement, meaning he'll provide some input and advice should we come to some hurdles we need to get overcome. We'll pull him in as needed. Finally, Nikki Bartok is our lead analyst. She'll be doing the heavy lifting, if you will, with the data analysis and all those sorts of things. She comes to us from the San Francisco Public Utilities Commission. So again, she's worked on your side of the table. And she has 6 years experience, and she's been doing a lot of analytical work for us, especially in impact fees and a lot of communities along the Front Range in Colorado. So she's a great addition to the team for this project. The way we look at what is an impact fee, and you may be familiar with this, but I'll walk through this real quick for those who aren't. It's a one-time fee for new capacity. It's also an incremental fee if you are increasing your capacity as new development, and it's required of all new connections. So a new development comes in, you would assess an impact fee. And it really represents the cost to provide service to provide that capacity to new development. That's how we look at this, is that a new development comes in, there is they require a certain amount of capacity. There's the impact fee that's been designed to charge, which represents the cost for serving that capacity to that new development. And this is really based on the value of the system's infrastructure and the capacity that infrastructure has. Finally, the key thing with impact fees is that it promotes the equity between existing and new customers, and that's key because as an existing customer, if there's a lot of growth, there's some growth-related projects out there, I've already paid my fair share. Mm-hmm. I don't want to pay for the growth, so an impact fee helps balance that a little bit, and it's challenging depending on the timing of the growth and the impact fee levels and whatnot. It's a way to diversify your revenue sources, and the way we look at that is that if you are getting impact fee money, you can use that to offset capital projects, which then helps maintain lower rates on the financial planning side and helps keep your monthly user rates lower than it otherwise might have been if you didn't have impact fees. And more importantly, from a legality, statutory requirement, there needs to be a rational nexus between the fees, meaning what you pay is rationally related to what you're getting in terms of capacity. And there's a number of court cases across the United States that have proven that time and time again. And when we develop impact fees, we always make sure there's that rational nexus. It's kind of passing a gut check, is what they're paying for, what they're paying in fees, is it roughly proportional to what they're getting in terms of capacity? And again, this reasonable relationship to the burden that's imposed and to provide the capacity. Now, what's important here is that Wyoming doesn't have any specific impact fee statutes. However, there are some laws and there are some statutes that allude to the use of impact fees to maintain a community growing, because Wyoming is not that populous and it's slow growth, and they recognize that. So there are some statutes that touch on how impact fees can be used and what the benefits are of those impact fees. So granted, there's no specific statute. Those are things that we'll need to serve as guidelines for as we develop those fees. Our approach is a four-step approach. Obviously, our project initiation, we're going to have a kickoff meeting. The most important thing about our project initiation is, A, getting to know the town, understanding what the challenges are, what's the current political environment, how the customers are viewing growth, and how impact fees might affect the cash flows and financial aspects of the water and wastewater utility. So we really identify the key drivers. We'll also give you a data request list ahead of time. It's a laundry list of things we're going to need to evaluate the impact fee. And what we'll do during this kickoff meeting is we'll give you the data request list before that time, and we'll review that data request list. We'll also review the data and come back with questions of, well, can you give us some more information on A, B, and C? And that helps us make the project initiation meeting really productive, in that we're not just starting out looking at data for the first time. We would have had a chance to review it, and we can really consider this more of a project meeting. Step 2 is the meat and potatoes of this whole thing, and that's developing the impact fee. And there are some steps associated with developing that. We have to value the system. We have to determine the capacity. We have to determine the demand requirement of your new connections coming online. And we have to do all those calculations. And in the next slide, I'll show you a quick little graphic of kind of how that works from a mathematical perspective. And when we look at this here, I mentioned earlier that we have to value the capacity of the system. So if we think about a water system, there's all these different facilities in the water system that we need to place a value on, and we need to determine what's the capacity of that system. We divide those two numbers, we get a unit cost, and that's our unit cost. That's our basis for determining the impact fee. The only thing we're missing is what's the demand requirement for those new types of customers? Typically, we look at a baseline of a 3/4 inch equivalent to the smallest type of customer you can serve. And that unit cost times the demand of that equivalent customer gives us the fee. And this is all, very high level. Obviously, depending on the situation we have here at the town, there's going to be some complexities, additional steps in here with this calculation. But really, it comes down to applying a unit cost of the value of your system times the demand required by that new development. And that's really important too. We don't want to underestimate that demand, thereby undercharging for a fee and them using more capacity than really what they may have paid for. Finally, this is an optional task we put in there, but this is really important. We can develop an impact fee, and that's great. We can have a number of new growth coming in, whether it's just a few taps or whether it's 150 taps that are coming in. The key thing is that we develop this new impact fee. And we want to pencil this out to see, well, if we set these impact fees and say they've gone up 20%, how's that going to affect your user rates? Because now we have impact fee revenue that is used, or additional impact fee revenue that can be used to offset some of those capital project costs. And in doing so, that can help keep your monthly or quarterly user rate revenues lower, meaning the increases you need to make would be lower. It wouldn't lower the rates, but maybe the rate increases you need to have wouldn't be quite as high. So it's important that we take the second piece of the puzzle, that we calculate the fees. That's great, but really, how's that going to impact your new and existing customers? How's that going to impact your ability to issue debt if you need to issue debt? How much debt you might need to issue in the future should you have continued expansion projects? Finally, meetings and reports. This is pretty standard stuff. We're going to attend a town council meeting and present the results. We're going to give you a draft and final report summarizing all the different aspects of the study, the assumptions, and all the criteria we put into it, the methodologies we used. And the whole goal is, with this report, as we depart from your council chambers that night, is that you have a report that is durable and you can use that going forward to help review your fees in the future. The goal here is to develop an impact fee and a durable process, to where we design this impact fee to where you don't have to revisit it each year. Rather, you can come back every 5 years and do penciling this out to see, are we still where we need to be with our impact fees? The goal is not to develop a fee that will just need to be adjusted next year. We want to leave you with a fee that's going to give you a steady revenue stream to the extent possible with your growth, but also allow you to build upon that report and say, okay, we can look at increasing the fee by 3% each year, and know that you're still maintaining that equity between new and existing customers, and that you are recovering your cost of that new growth of those customers buying in to your water and wastewater system. So finally, I'll wrap up here. Why partner with us? We're a nationwide firm. We specialize in this. This is what we do. This is what I've been doing for 25 years. Andrew, what he's been doing for 20 years, and Nikki as well. It's her focus in what we do. We have staff all across the U.S. that's seen all sorts of things for system development charges and all the kind of the quirks associated with them. We also will, have experts with municipal advisory services, which is helping utilities look at bond issues and having that fiduciary responsibility of acting in the best interest of the utility when it comes to some sort of financing or looking at evaluating your financial plan. As I said, I have 25 years experience, and I've really been focused on the western United States, Wyoming, Colorado, Utah, Arizona, even Texas. They all have impact fees, and they all do it a little bit differently, so everybody's got a little different way to look at it. So we bring all of that experience here and all the different ways to look at things to find a solution. So it's not a simple cut and paste or just fill in the blanks with our fee methodology. We're going to evaluate your fee like we do any other utility and peel back the onion, find all the data, and find the best approach that's going to meet the community needs, objectives, as well as the financial requirements of the utility. We do have active experience in Wyoming. Like I said, we're working in Laramie. We've worked there for a long time. And we just finished up a project in Casper as well as Whitefish. In fact, we just won the Laramie solid waste rate study, and we're just kicking that off. So we've had great success with them, and it's been really enjoyable working with the city there. Like I said, finally, a proven approach that we're going to ensure the fees meet your community values and goals. We're going to equitably recover the cost, and more importantly, we're going to do this in a legal manner. Now, I'm not an attorney, but we're going to follow the best practices here, and that's the best we can do to ensure that you have a legally compliant fee. We're also be mindful of the various statutes that kind of outline and kind of dance around the importance of impact fees and how they should be used in a community such as the town of Alpine. So we're going to keep that in mind as well. And I think that'll pretty much shield us from hopefully any sort of challenge by a certain group or whatnot. But that's the key thing, is we want to develop fees that are going to be equitable and meet the needs of the community as well as the financial requirements of the city, while maintaining this legally compliant and meeting any sort of statutory requirements by the state. And finally, I'll leave you with this again, the MSRB, Registered Municipal Advisor. This is really important because although we're developing a TAP fee, there might be a financial planning part of this. As a municipal advisor, we have to make sure we're regulated by the MSRB and the SEC to make sure we're working and acting in the best interest of the town. And that's a lot to carry for us. And we pride ourselves on being registered with the MSRB and working under that authority, as we think it's really important in terms of credibility and making sure that you really are getting the best value from us and getting as much information and just the best answers possible and giving you a durable solution to these impact fees that will be working for you going forward into the future, not just 1 year, but multiple years. So I'll close there, kind of whiz through a lot of things there fairly quickly, but I think we have some time to open up for some questions. So I'll stop sharing here, and I can take any questions from the group that you might have.
Sounds good, Todd. This is the mayor. I'll ask you the same question. We've kind of been counseled that other areas in our kind of in this region don't necessarily implement the impact fee the proper way, and it's been advised to us that we charge an impact fee and then that goes for specific projects. The projects can change over time or whatever. What is your feeling on that approach?
Well, that's an interesting question, and like I said, there's no specific rules on how impact fees are developed. There's different methodologies that can be employed depending on whether you're a high growth or low growth or medium growth utility. And regarding the projects have to be, or the fees have to be used to fund a specific project, that's always the goal. That if you have developed an impact fee, and for example, let's just throw something out there. Let's say you're a growing community and you have to build a water treatment plant, and you need to collect impact fees on it because it's a new growth and you'll be, serving new customers with that. You develop the impact fee based on the value of that treatment plant that's being built. Yes, you want to recover the costs associated with building that treatment plant. You don't want to use those impact fee revenues to fund repair and replacement of the mains. And you certainly don't want to use your impact fee revenue to pay for operations maintenance expense or debt service or something not related to that.
Right.
And when you have those sorts of projects or an impact fee that really is looking forward to those expansion related projects, not historical looking at, that's where you really want to make sure that you're tracking and you are recovering the cost for that particular impact fee or whatever costs are included or whatever projects are included in your impact fee. You want to make sure that you do recover the costs associated with just those facilities. There's a couple of methodologies that it kind of blurs that a little bit, but Arizona is a great example that if your capital improvement program, you develop your impact fees based on that capital improvement program. If you can't use the money for anything else. If you don't build the project, you have to give the money back. And so you can apply that here as well. But like I said, there's no statutory requirement you have to do that. But you know what? It's best practice. If you're going to charge an impact fee for a specific type of facility and project, it'd be best to recover the cost for just that and not try to use it for something else.
Sounds good. Any questions? If you do have a question, just make sure you tell them who it is. who
Okay.
it's coming from. Yep.
Yes, this is Councilwoman Castillo. Todd, I had a quick question. You seem to know Wyoming's unique challenge when it comes to lack of regulation, and you want to follow best practices and states that follow the most stringent regulations. Have you ever had one of your impact fees challenged? And if so, how did you meet that challenge?
I have not had them challenged. And here's the issue with that is that often, at least except for California, many times the burden of proof is on, it's usually a developer. The burden of proof is on the developer, and it's very difficult because a lot of utilities, probably in Wyoming as well, have the legislative authority to set the fees. And unless the fee is just egregious, and it gets back to that, it's not rationally related, it's going to be really difficult for a developer to prove that something is wrong or they're being overcharged with that. But luckily, we've not been sued. Now, we have testified for communities. They brought us in as expert witnesses, but in terms of Raftellus and myself, we've not been taken to court about anything like that. So, but like I said, it's you got to have a really unique setup for that to kind of go all the way to a court case testifying. So we've been really successful in not having to go that route, although we have provided expert testimony assisting utilities that have been challenged from some fee developed elsewhere, developed historically, but not from us.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Any other questions? Let's just make sure I didn't have any other. Oh, could you just walk us through real quick how we would implement the impact fee? It's, if I'm not mistaken, it's an ordinance and you need 3 readings and you're obviously familiar with that process.
Yeah, you need to have the 3 meetings and public hearings. I don't think that it's anything different than your user rates would be.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, some communities, cities do it just a little bit differently. But yeah, the 3 meetings sounds correct, and we would introduce that the second route. So I'm thinking of the second and third readings of the ordinance, and so it follows something similar to what you would do for water rates or wastewater rates.
Okay, and you had mentioned like some towns have implemented like a 3% increase every year. Is that typical? So you don't necessarily have to have a rate change every year and have 3 readings again?
That's true. How that works between each community might vary because obviously one council can't hold a future council to do something. So what communities might do is when they write the ordinance, they'll say, well, here's the fee, and then it'll increase by some sort of index each year at 3% or based on whatever the published number, CPI. And I think that would still need to go back to council for approval, which you wouldn't need to go through. Well, here's the study. and here's the results of the study. It would be maybe a faster process. It still might need the 3 readings, but the benefit of that, and some communities are actually, it just automatically goes into place. It would just have to be written as such in the ordinance to do that. And again, every city's different in terms of the power of being able to do that. But a lot of communities do reference, hey, we've developed these fees and we want to escalate those by 3% every year. At the end of 5 years, we'll go back and reevaluate the fee and reset the fee and then go back and do the same.
Okay, that makes sense. We're kind of getting close to the end of our 30 minutes. Any questions? It doesn't look like we have any other questions here. Is there anything else you wanted to mention before we let you go?
Well, no, hey, thank you for the opportunity. I've been hoping to work with Alpine for quite a while, and talking with some of the engineering folks here and contractors about a year and a half ago, and we were talking about scopes of work for this sort of thing. So it's great that we were given the opportunity to come and present on our capabilities and our expertise, and we're real excited about the opportunity. And like I said, we bring a lot of experience and expertise, and you'll be covered with Raftellus should you select this. And again, we're real excited about the opportunity.
Well, thank you so much for presenting tonight, and I wanted to let you know that we'll be making the decision tonight, hopefully tonight, in our regular town council meeting that takes place directly after this meeting. So if you want to get on our YouTube channel and with the other 5 people that are currently on, you're more than welcome to get on that. I don't know if we'll have additional questions for you later, but I just wanted to make sure you knew that.
Okay, what is the YouTube channel link?
Well,
Is it the same link?
Sarah will send it to you, or yeah, she'll put it in the chat or something like that. So, but it's town of Alpine, Wyoming. If you put that into YouTube, I'm sure it will come up very prominently.
Okay.
Yeah, we have tens of people that subscribe to it. So,
Just remember to click like and subscribe.
yeah.
Great,
Yeah.
great.
Well, I appreciate it.
Well,
Thank
I'll tell you one other thing.
Yeah.
Tell you one other thing really quick. It'd be great to work in Alpine, which because it's kind of close to Kemmer. My wife's from Kemmer. And
Oh, there
she's
you
really
go.
Excited about
Yeah.
this interview tonight. So
Wow. Well, that's a great connection. Appreciate it. Thank you so much, Todd.
Thank you, Todd.
thank you so much, everyone. Take
Okay.
care. Good night.
Thank you. That's good. We'll adjourn this meeting right now. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion. It's been seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. You can turn off your microphones. We're going to take just a couple minute break. Everyone, please sign in if you haven't done so for this meeting. You may have already signed in for the other.